Hi everyone, hope you're all keeping well. It's now time for our next lesson. I do apologise, it's slightly later than I'd planned. However, it's here and it's ready now, so let's have a look and see. So we're going to be looking at digital electronics today. Okay, so this will kind of form really the last part of the kind of current block of learning that we're kind of looking at the moment. So let's have a look and see what our learning intention and success criteria are. So our learning intention: to explore the key areas of digital electronic systems. The success criteria: I can state the different parts of a digital electronic system. I can name different electronic components and classify them correctly into each one of those kind of different parts of the systems that we've already discussed in the previous success criteria. And finally, I can identify logic gates and produce the truth table relevant to each gate. Okay, so a lot to get through, so let's make a start. So digital electronic systems. All digital electronic systems contain the same three parts, and they're all made up of these same parts. So it's nice and easy to remember. You have, first of all, you've got your input, then of course you've got a process, and then you have your output. And every single digital electronic system that you come across will have all of these three steps. You need to have something coming in, some sort of process that's happening, and then of course your output at the end. So input, process and output. So the digital signal, input is a digital signal our system starts with. So generally we would represent this with either a 0 or a 1, or an on or an off, because it's digital. Digital can either be on or it can be off. We can't have kind of anything in between. So digital systems are either on or off, so either represented by on or off, or of course on being a 1 and off being a 0. The process is basically what's happening to this signal once we get it in. So once that signal's been input into the system, what are we going to do to that signal? And that's the process. And then finally, our output. The output is what we get out of the system. So we've processed our signal that we got in, we've changed it somehow, and we now have our signal coming out after it's been processed. So let's have a look at some example devices. So we'll start with example input devices. So some examples here: we've got the microphone, a solar cell, light dependent resistor or LDR, and thermistor. The last two, if you've not came across them yet, don't worry too much. We'll cover them in more detail probably after the summer holidays now. Examples of the process devices: we've got an amplifier, an NPN transistor, and a MOSFET. Again, with these last two, if you've not came across them yet, we'll have a look at these in more detail after the summer holiday, so don't worry too much about that. And finally, example output devices. Here I've got a loudspeaker, a relay switch, a lamp, a light emitting diode or an LED. Again, if there's any of those you're unsure about, don't worry too much. I'm thinking about the relay switch. We'll probably talk a little bit about the relay switch in more detail again after the summer holidays. So these are just some examples of input, process and output devices. Do feel free to stop here and maybe have a think about any other input, process or output devices that you may have came across in the past. Feel free to add them in here if you want. If not, we'll carry on just now and we will have a look back at our digital electronic system. So obviously we've got our input, our process and our output. We know this already. So let's have a look at a practical system. We'll look at a public address system or a PA system. Something that you may get in a supermarket, for instance, where they would shout over and they would basically address the public to try and get hold of everyone in the store, trying to find either someone or maybe ask for a clean up in some sort of aisle or something. So we start off with our input. The input in this system would be your microphone. So you've got the person in the store would sit with their microphone. They would be speaking into the microphone. Now if they were to speak into that microphone and the sound was to come out the loudspeaker at exactly the same volume they're speaking into it, it's not going to be heard by very many people around the store. So we have to process that, and that goes through an amplifier to process it. Once it's been through the amplifier, basically the amplifier makes the sound louder. It boosts the amplitude of the sound, and we get our output. In this case is going to be a loudspeaker, of course. That's how we would hear things. We maybe use headphones if we're listening to things on phones or whatever, but if you're looking for a public address system, obviously you want everyone to be able to hear this So you'd use a loudspeaker so everyone can hear it. So that's an example of a digital electronic system. You can basically fit anything, any type of digital electronic system. You can split it up into these three parts, and you will always have this input, the process and the output. So again, do feel free to go away and have a look at different digital electronic systems and see if you can split them up into the different parts. However, in the meantime, I'm going to introduce you to the next part. Now this is logic gates. Now logic gates are really quite important. Logic gates are process devices, I should say. So these are devices that we would use to process a signal and perhaps change it so that we get something different out. They're very useful devices, and there are three main types of logic gate that we're going to be looking at in this course. So we're going to look at, first of all, the NOT gate, which is sometimes called an inverter. It's important to know that. We will discuss why it's sometimes called an inverter just shortly. We have an input there, and we have an output from our NOT gate. So that's the NOT gate kind of fits in the middle there as the process device. And you've got an input coming in, you've got an output going out. Secondly, you've got an AND gate. So an AND gate similarly has two inputs in this case. It's got an input here, input 1 and input 2, and then of course it has an output, and the AND gate again would be the process device in the middle there. And finally we have the OR gate, and similar to the AND gate, the OR gate has input 1, input 2, and of course output. You've probably guessed it already, the OR gate is a process device as well. So these are the three types of gates that we need to be aware of. I'm not going to tell you exactly how they work at this point in time. I'm going to actually get you to do a little activity to try and figure this out for yourselves, and I'll explain more about that later on. What I will do is just talk to you just very briefly about the different types of gates. So let's start with the NOT gate. So the NOT gate, sometimes called an inverter, and the reason it's sometimes called an inverter is because it basically inverts the input. So if your input's on, the output's off. Dead easy. If the output's off, the input's on. That's all your NOT gate is going to do. So that is very simple. It's a process device, as I've already said. So you've got your input, and it can either be on or 0, or it can be off or 0, or it can be on, which is 1, represented by 1. Your output then is the opposite to the input, or it's inverted. So that's your NOT gate. This here is a truth table. Now, we've not come across truth tables yet, so let me just take a few seconds to tell you what a truth table is. Truth table basically looks at the inputs that you've got going into a device and then determines what the output will be at the end. So in this case, your input can either be a 0 or a 1, so your output is either going to be 0 or 1. It depends on what your NOT gate does. Now, as I said, I'm not going to tell you what the answer is here for the truth table just now. I'm going to get you to go away shortly and do or have a go at a little activity to have a go at this, but just want you to be familiar with this NOT gate. Do feel free to take a copy of it if you want, but you will find when I send you away to do the activity, you will get a copy of the NOT gate to copy out from there as well if you prefer to wait just now. So the AND gate then, the AND gate of course again is another process device. The inputs, so this time we've got two inputs, and input 1 can be on or off. On obviously being 1 and off being 0. Input 2 can be on or off, and they're both independent of each other, so one can be on and the other can be off, or vice versa. Or they both can be on, they both can be off. It just depends on what these two inputs are. And basically what we're looking for, the output here, both inputs need to be on for the output to be on. That's how your AND gate works. That's quite simple, it's in the name. Input 1 and input 2 need to be on, or you get nothing out. Okay, and again, just the truth table here. I'll just give you a few seconds to have a look at this. A little bit more complicated obviously because we've got some different combinations here. You've got input 1, you've got input 2, and we need to look at all the different combinations. So we need to look at when they're both off, when one of them's on, when the other one's on, and then when both of them are on. So that's why we've got this looking a little bit more complicated than the previous one. So this is the AND gate truth table. Finally, we come to our OR gate. So our OR gate again is a process device. The inputs, once again, you've got two inputs. They can either be on or off, 1 or 0. Your output here, similarly, one or both inputs must be on for the output to be on. So one of them is on, you have an output on. If both of them are on, your output will be on. That's as simple as that. So either inputs need to be on. So it's one or the other needs to be on, or both. So again, your truth table here, again, I'm not going to give you the answers to this. You're going to go away, you're going to try and figure this out for yourselves. So we've got input 1, input 2, and you just need to look at all the different combinations. What happens when they're both off? What happens when one's on and the other's off? What happens when it's the other way around? And then, of course, what happens when they're both on? So that is our truth table there, and you guys are going to try and figure out the answers to that for yourself. Don't worry if you struggle with that. There is kind of some help if you aren't able to come to the kind of correct answers. I've got a sheet to give out to you at a later stage. Multiple gates. Now I'm just going to talk about multiple gates briefly. I just want to show you how we would deal with multiple gates when we're looking at basically combinations of more than one logic gates. So I've got an example here. We have, of course, if I just turn on the laser pointer here, we have here, of course, a NOT gate, and of course we have an AND gate. So what happens in this system? Well, what you have to do is you start with input 1. You obviously come up with your truth table. You've got 2 inputs, so you need to come up with all the different possible combinations for 2 inputs. You have your input here. What happens if this input's off? What's going to come out the other side? What happens if this input's on? What are you going to be reading at this little dot here? So the output of the NOT gate becomes the input of the AND gate. So if the input here is on, what's going to happen here and how's that going to affect this gate? If the output here is off, what's going to happen here and how that's going to affect this gate here? Similarly, input 2, well, there's nothing here. Input 2 just goes straight into the AND gate. So input 2, if that's on, if it's off, how's that going to affect this? And do we need both of them to be on? Do we need one of them to be on? Do we need none of them to be on? Well, you guys are going to figure that one out for yourselves. The next example here, I've just got 2 examples here of these. So input 1 going into an AND gate this time, input 2 also going into an AND gate. The output of the AND gate goes into an OR gate. Input 3 also goes into the OR gate. So you're looking to see, first of all, what the output is going to be from your AND gate and how that's going to affect your output here from your OR gate. And then, of course, you need to take into account input 3 as well. So let's just have a little look at those steps here. So the output of one logic gate can become the input for a second, and that's what we're basically looking at here. Or of course a third or a fourth or a fifth, and these systems can kind of go on. You can build up large systems of multiple gates. Start with input 1. Is it on? Is it off? Follow its path. How's that going to affect the output for that gate? What happens as it passes through the first logic gate? Is the output going to be on or off? And do the same for the other inputs until you've mapped them all out, basically. And remembering that the input for the second gate is likely to come from the output from the first gate, or the input for the third gate might come from the output from the second or third or fourth gates, or it kind of goes on down the route. So you just need to kind of keep an eye on these, and you just have to work through it methodically. So it's about getting that truth table developed, and basically just kind of working through it step by step. There's no other way to do this. Okay, so to do, I'm going to get you guys first of all to go to Dr. McIntyre's physics website. That would be me. This is something which I've developed for you guys to hopefully, so at this point what I would do is I would normally have you go away and kind of do something practical. Now obviously that's not possible at this point in time, so I've kind of developed this website to kind of try and almost simulate what you would go away and do, in order to try and figure out and explore what happens when you do different things with the logic gates. So you're going to go to the website using the link below. You're going to copy the truth tables. You can do it individually or you can do it all at once. For the NOT gate, the AND gate and the OR gates. I'm trying to complete them by turning the inputs on or off for each gate. Once you've completed these, I want you to try and figure out what happens with the combinations of logic gates. Actually, before you do that, there's actually a form for you to fill in. So what you'll do is you'll go through, you'll do the logic gates for the individual logic gates. You'll do the NOT, the AND and the OR. There's a form for you to fill in. Go fill in that form. It should give you the results. Hopefully it'll all work. I think it's all working. But do let me know if there's any problems. So go and have a look and see if you can get that plug it into the form, see if you manage to get the right answers. If you're struggling, you will find, and it's kind of hidden a little bit, so I've not made it terribly obvious, just to make sure that you're actually trying to go through the process of figuring this out for yourself first of all. But you will find a downloadable sheet that is available that has all the answers on it for the individual gates, just in case you're really struggling and you're not you're not going to be able to move on to the second part, which is where you're going to look at the multiple gates. So what happens with the combinations of logic gates? There's 4 different combinations to work with. I've just stuck just with examples with 2 logic gates. I've not gone any more complicated than that. If there's a desire for anything more complicated than that, then we can certainly come up with something in the future. However, there's actually a little extension task which might kind of satisfy that desire if you have that. So at this point I'm going to pause the PowerPoint, I'm going to take you to the website, and we're going to just have a little look and see just how the website's kind of structured and how you're going to work through this next bit. Let's have a look at this website then. So hopefully you can all see this. If you followed the link, you should hopefully be seeing a page which looks kind of similar to this. You might have a couple of extra options up at the top now that I've enabled everything on the website, but you'll see obviously the stuff that you did last time on graphing up here as well. Down here, so this is the Logic Gates website. It's got some instructions here. You can actually click on these. These are all links here, so you can click straight to go to the not, the and, or the or gate. I would recommend you have a quick read through here, a brief introduction and kind of what's expected of you on each page. Once you get down here, each of these images is a link as well, and you can click on each of these. So if I go to the not gate, for instance, here, I come to the not gate. There's a picture with a symbol. You've got the not gate here. You've got the introduction to the not gate here. You have the truth table here. A little note just saying that, if the lamp is off, then that means the output's off. If the lamp is on, then the output is on. And then of course you've got down here, you can click here, so you click on the gate here, and that will take you in to start exploring. So the input currently is off, so you can try switching it on. You can see that here that the lamp is on. I'm not going to take you any further than that. That'll be for you to explore. So if I just go back a couple of pages, and this should hopefully work on every device as well. You'll find something similar for and or gates. Once you've done that, you'll see this bit here, so you're going to check your results. So you can click on the little click here sign, and you can click on the link here. You're just going to plug in your results for the truth table. So it's got a picture of the truth table here with row A and row B. So row A is where the input is 0. What was the output? Well, we just saw that row A, the input, we just saw what was happened when the output was off, so we know that the output was 1. We don't know what's happened here. You do need to make sure you've got an answer in for every row. Was that 1 as well? We could try that, and then we could move on. You go on, you go down, do the AND gate, and you do the OR gate as well. I don't have a form for the more complicated ones with the. I'm just going to leave that because I don't want to save that just now. But I don't have a form for the more complicated combinations of logic gates, but I will put the answers up later in the week. We can do it as a form at a later stage if you guys think that that's better, but we're going to get some feedback on that. You keep scrolling down, you can now come down now to combinations of multiple logic gates. So you can click up here, it's got a little bit of information here, you can click here, you can click on any of these images as well, all take you to the same page. And you've got multiple logic gates. You have a little bit of an introduction here, and then you can click on 4 different examples, and it'll just basically take you through exactly the same way you did with the previous example. So if I click on this one here, some information here, asks you to have a go at trying to design your own truth table. However, if you click here, you will see an example of a truth table which you might want to. I would definitely recommend actually you go and check it against just to make sure that you've got everything in there. Doesn't matter if everything's in the same order. You can have, your first value can be 1, your second value can be 0. It doesn't matter what order you've got it in. It's completely up to you, just as long as you've got all the same values in some sort of order in there. And then again, you just come down here, you click on here, and you can explore what happens as you turn inputs on and off. Let's just go back to the main page. If I scroll down just a little bit further, sorry, that's just still on the multiple logic gates. I come back here. If I scroll down a little bit further, there's an extension task here. Now I'm not going to talk about this extension task in this video. I'm actually going to do a separate video which will explain how the extension task works. What you'll do is you'll click here. I'm not going to go into this page because the page isn't quite finished yet. If you click here, you'll have a separate video and then a link to a different website which will basically simulate different logic gates. You can put together different things in there. Okay, there's some options down at the bottom. These are just kind of a clicking to go back to various different points. This is the main page on logic gates. This is where you'll come in and you'll kind of find all the instructions. You just work through the page as it appears. Okay, so it's as simple as that. So let's go back now to the slides. So now that you know how to work the website, you know what you're going to be going away and doing. Just come back, we're just going to have a quick run through those success criteria again. So obviously you're going to want to go away and have a look at the website and try and hopefully come up with the correct answers for everything on there and become masters in logic gates. Our success criteria, hopefully you've been able to do all the things on the website. So have you, first of all, can you state the different parts, those 3 different parts? Remember, what were they? Can you name some of the different examples of the electronic components and get them into the right classification? So were they an input device, a process device, or an output device? So think about the microphone, the loudspeaker, the amplifier. Can you identify the logic gates? Were you able to get the correct truth tables? If not, were you able to find out where you went wrong? Hopefully you have. If you've got any problems, let me know in the Google Classroom, and I will obviously, either myself, Mr. Warnock, or Mr. Scott will endeavour to help kind of solve that problem for you. In the meantime, I'm going to leave you there with that. Hopefully you got on okay with that. I would like some feedback from the website just to kind of get an idea as to how useful you've kind of felt that was. So what I'll maybe do is kind of put out a little feedback form next week. Just to kind of get some feedback for this lesson and actually probably for all the lessons, just to kind of see how you get on. So in the meantime, keep yourself safe and hopefully we'll get to see each other in the not too distant future.